I am your host today, Capo Daniel, the Deputy Defense Chief and the spokesperson of the Ambazonian Governing Council. You are all highly welcome to this our television. Today we are going to give a comprehensive response to Comrade Boh Herbert in what we titled Comrade Boh Herbert's 10 Commandments, a write-up that was published by Boh Herbert on WhatsApp groups and many fora where Ambazonians interact with each other as we navigate this very tough journey to our independence in this independence war. Ladies and gentlemen, to our Biafran friends, our Pan-African friends, and the people of the world, you're all welcome in this festive holiday. We want to say Happy New Year in advance and Happy Christmas in arrears to all of our people at Ground Zero, to all of our IDPs and our prisoners, our refugees and asylum seekers across the globe. We are all thinking of you. And today we have a very wonderful program to present to you. But first, let's have our introductory jingle, and I'll be back. Good morning, fellow televiewers on the ACN television network. Welcome to another episode of the No Pony Talk Show. In the making, history made already. This is a show where we talk the people's language for Biafra and the people's language for Ambazonia, the Pidgin English. And I'm me, Capo Daniel, una host. So I'll play this music and welcome everybody. And we'll go straight into this topic today, which is very, very important and very, very critical. Hello. Once again, welcome televiewers, and thank you for allowing me to come into your home. Thanking you for allowing me to come into your mobile device where you watch me on YouTube. Remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel and on the ACN YouTube channel, and to receive an update from the Ambazonian Governing Council and from my Pan-African friends as well, and issues that relate to Pan-Africa. As you guys know very well, finally 2022 have come to an end. Today is the last day, the 31st of December, Saturday, and we have a very special program for you before our primary topic, which is a response to Comrade Boh Herbert. I want to welcome all of you. It has been a very long journey. We have finally put the COVID-19 that came up over 2 years ago in 2020. It is now a history, but the world is going to live with this virus forever, just like the flu virus and many other things. Please, you are all very highly welcome to this program. We are going to go straight, but first I want to salute all my people that make una know say we and me have been a champion for the Pidgin English language. So I always talk for Pidgin English because now the language of the people. That is the language of the hospitals, the courts, and everywhere. And I believe sincerely that if we train our engineers, our vocational schools in Pidgin English, we will have better engineers, we'll have a more productive workforce, and our students will learn in a language that they actually speak on the street. Nevertheless, at this stage of our liberation movement, where we have attained internationalization, expect me somehow to be accommodating to our English-speaking friends or our assimilated Ambazonian elites. But we will see the push our messages primarily for English, for Pidgin English, on my podcast, and I will be doing so even in this program. And I want to let you know that I don't speak English. I speak Pidgin Standard English. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go straight into what we have today. Fellow Ambazonians, we have been grappling with the horrific nature of Cameroon conduct during this war for our liberation, since our people rose up in 2016 in what we call Ambazonian Rising to fall no more, as given by Kodidinka and Powerful Ngalafo. Our people have risen up to embrace their nationalism, to wave their flag, and to ask for separation and independence for our territory. We have been met by a brutal, animalistic, occultic, demonic regime of La République du Cameroon that knows nothing but brutality. Our students were beaten up, women were raped in their hotel rooms and in their student quarters. Our lawyers were stripped of their dignity, their scarves were removed from their head, they were chased in their hotel rooms. Our boys rose up in bravery Mancho BBC in the Commercial Avenue in the Liberty Square with the brave heart to demand what our people want. The consortium was born, a coming together of all Ambazonian civil society, our market women, our Bayam Selam, right in the bush in Oku, in Akwaya. Ambazonians rose up and say enough is enough with marginalization. Enough is enough with the taking away of our dignity, our sovereignty, and our statehood. They demand one thing: independence and separation. Cameroon have been brutal. The worst treatment amongst the assassins of Cameroon have been the burning down of our village, the earth-scorched policy, where the Cameroon military simply walks into a village, target every civilians, which they know everybody supports Ambazonia independence, burns their houses. As we speak, fellow Ambazonians, from Mbui to Oko to Baipania, from Atlantic states to Savannah, from Mount Fako to Lake Wum to Lake Nyos, the grass field of Ndo, houses have been burned by the Cameroon government and its military men. The same memories from Mwa, where entire villages were burnt. Behind these ruins, behind this burnt house, are stories of mothers and fathers, women who have been left to suffer in the cold, just like the Ukrainians are going through cold period of winter. Thousands of families in Ambazonia are today left in the cold during Christmas and this New Year by Paul Biya and his militia and his military of occupation in Ambazonia. They have burned our villages despite all the promises made by Nziongote and the so-called House of Chiefs that Cameroon have changed their actions. They have repented. They want to look for another way. It is all a lie, because what we see on the ground is terror, is Cameroon using terrorism tactics to punish us collectively for demanding separation and independence. Fellow Ambazonians, Cameroon, if they think that they will burn our villages and we will sit with our hands in our pockets like the generations that comes before us, they are making a big mistake. As I'm coming today to you, the people of Yaoundé have smelled smoke. This happens in Mendong Quarter in Yaoundé, where the DOVV supermarkets was set on fire. And what I want to let our people know, that we will continue to see the Ministry of Fire Defense visiting La République du Cameroon from place to place. I hope the message is clear. Don't think you can burn our country and we will stay quiet. We will bring La République du Cameroon economic down. We will bring their infrastructure down. We have brought down their electric grid in Douala. We will go further. They have no idea what man is capable of doing to protect his own. They have no idea what we will do as an organization, as a force, and as a people to protect our country. If the Ukrainians could carry out attack in the deep heart of Russia, despite the threat of a nuclear attack from Russia, then La République will know that everything is on the table. Their grid, the Chad Cameroon pipeline, and I want to give some predictions. The Ministry of Fire Defense will visit them tomorrow in Douala. Mark my word. So, ladies and gentlemen, back to Ambazonia, we want to highlight some of the challenges we have. Like we have said, if you study the history of wars for the past decades, in the past centuries, no country have been able to subjugate and rule by force any other country. It has never been possible. The only way they have been successful to overcome people's power across the globe, if you go back to the Roman Empire and their domination of Israel, was to use Pontius Pilate and the Pharisees and the Sadducees, to use people within your own country to be able to win you. Cameroon's ability to win Ambazonia is Cameroon's ability to use Ambazonia to rule Ambazonia, to fight Ambazonia. That is why for us to be able to win and have our freedom, we must have the ability and the mind and the boldness to take on Ambazonians who have become traitors, who have sided with the enemy during this time of mass atrocity against their own people, like the chiefs. So today I want to bring to you one of our fathers in Bamenda, the Saki, A Saki is like the Muslim chief, a religious personality for our beloved Ambazonian Muslim who resides in Old Town in Bamenda. Many times we have highlighted this issue and people have think that we were just joking. But finally, with the militarization of our capital city, the capital of our resistance, Bamenda, La République du Cameroon, all their cats and dogs, traitors, blacklegs, have seized the opportunity to sneak into our town and to make mockery of the blood of our children. Ni John Frundi have been one of those who came to his compound in Tarinkun, made a propaganda video, sneak out of Bamenda town and up to the upstations where Cameroon military barracks are, and there he lives. But first I want to take you to our Saki in Old Town, our Muslim cleric, our Muslim chief, our Saki, who on Christmas Eve welcomes the chief terrorist, Lele Afrique. Let's have that picture in front here. This is our Saki, our Muslim leader in Bamenda, visiting, accepting Lele Afrique to come to his house. Lele Afrique did not visit the church leaders. He did not visit our civil society. He did not visit our Bayam Selam, our Ben Sikin boys, because he do not represent them. I hope our technical team can change the picture and put the picture of Lele Afrique visiting Saki in Old Town Bamenda. I want to show our people the collaboration between Saki and the colonial governor and the terrorist, Lele Afrique, so that when justice will come to him, our Muslim community should understand. Let's look for the picture of Saki and the governor of Lele Afrique in his residence in Old Town. It is forbidden for Ambazonians to welcome a terrorist, the person who is in charge of burning Ambazonia to the ground, to their house. So let us bring the picture so that our people can see for themselves. This is a Saki of Bamenda welcoming Lele Afrique during a period of war into his house in Bamenda Old Town. And Lele Afrique have been using this vehicle as an undercover vehicle to go around Bamenda. So we want our population to take note of this vehicle that's transport Lele Afrique. And if you see this vehicle, notify our forces so that actions can be taken to decapitate the enemies of our territory. I think our technical staff is having some difficulties, but I want you two guys to really take a look at this picture and see for yourself. So if we have the picture, or maybe if we don't have, we'll have to move ahead. Just a minute. So I'm bringing to light what we know for a long time. Okay, the picture is ready. For a long time, we know that the Saki of the Muslim community in Bamenda have been working hand in hand with the Cameroon military to aid and abet terrorists, Cameroon military occupation forces, to help identify Ambazonian forces and give them a room in Bamenda to fight our boys and to kill people in Bamenda. The Saki have refused all this allegation, but the visit of his house, hosting of Lele Afrique the terrorist, him being the only person that Lele Afrique could visit in comfort, shows you that he's a traitor. And all the allegations that he works with the Cameroon occupation terrorist forces are true. And I want our population to take note of this vehicle. He received Lele Afrique. They had over an hour visit to talk about how they can collaborate. Previously, we have seen undercover Hausa people who were brought in from northern Cameroon to infiltrate Old Town that live in the protect the Saki. So it is true, it is unquestionable, and Mr. Saki should be arrested for interrogation, for him to face the consequences of treason. We want our people to know. And the same Saki, to show you that he is part of the network of the colonial aggression Cameroon that are prosecuting this war. Mr. Saki also paid visit to Ni John Frundi the traitor in upstation Bamenda where Frundi is hiding. That is the video we had watched, and I want the technical staff to bring the video again. This is Saki visiting Ni John Frundi in his house. He did not just come by himself, he came with the wives and his entire family. So his wives are all part of his network of his political activity that undermines Ambazonia's sovereignty and territorial integrity. So he shouldn't be surprised if the people he engaged in his network are called in for questioning by our soldiers. So the Saki should take note, and all the Muslim community should understand that it is their patriotic duty to arrest the Saki and his entire network that works hand in hand with Cameroon to perpetrate genocide, scorched-earth policy in our town, Bamenda. That should register. So, ladies and gentlemen, Cameroon have been defeated. We have completely crushed Cameroon present in Ambazonia. We have made it them unable to govern our territory. We have dismantled their colonial infrastructure. And today, in 80% of Ambazonia, Cameroon do not have an administrative presence. We have reduced them to a few bunkers of military barracks that are dotted around our territory. They have been defeated completely, and our strategies have worked, and it has worked fatly. Today, we are facing them with IEDs. We are facing them with rocket propeller grenades. We are facing them with RPG successfully. Our soldiers have gained experience and have become more lethal. During the past 3 months, Cameroon major operations with their elite task force, the B, have all come out nothing. Nana. They have withdrawn from Oko after staying in Oko for a month, hunting down General Rambo, Bush Rambo, and it has all failed. Cameroon now have turned to the use of fake news to try to sabotage, to disorientate, and to attack the integrity of Ambazonia. They have started by targeting Dr. Cho Lucas Ayaba, the leader of our war of liberation, by using fake flyers to send out anti-Ambazonian messages, hoping that by using a credible leader, they can deceive our people into giving up their hope for freedom. I want you guys to look at this fake flyer that was produced by the Cameroon government and distributed on social media that says that the war have come to an end, that Ambazonia is engaged in a dialogue in Canada, and that it is a strategy to end the war. This is because Cameroon is unable to defeat Ambazonia, so they are turning to use credible Ambazonian leaders and credible Ambazonian officials to try to pass in fake news to demoralize our people, but we are better than that. So ignore these flyers. Our leader stands for independence and nothing else. He has rejected any compromises. He is somebody who have fought in ground zero. He's somebody who fought in Britain, somebody who fought in Germany, taking over Cameroon embassy to fight for our freedom. He is somebody who will accept only death rather than to betray Ambazonia, and we stand for Ambazonia independence. Everything holds. Cameroon has also trying to undermine our strategy of ghost town, also produces fake flyers and spread it all across the capital of our resistance in Bamenda. Every corner in Bamenda have seen these fake flyers that are littered our street, claiming that it is an olive branch that comes from Mr. Pobia's dialogue or whatever they call it. But this shows you that Cameroon have indeed been defeated. If a whole Cameroon, with all their resources and their military, are turning to use fake news, throwing these things on the streets, it shows that they are unable to win Ambazonia and they are frustrated, and this, like many of their strategy, have failed, is dead on arrival. Our people should stand strong and uphold the ghost town. I have put out messages, other activists have put out messages. All Ambazonia is standing for the ghost town because that is the only way our civil society, our common people can participate to demand for the world to know that they want separation and independence. So ghost town is unnegotiable. Ghost town remains every Monday. Everybody should stay at home to demonstrate to the world and to the enemy that we want nothing but separation and outright independence of Ambazonia. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we have gone through those issues, there is one case of a lady who was arrested by Ambazonian forces in the Atlantic state for blacklegism. That means for treason and for working with the colonial terrorist occupation forces of Cameroon to provide intelligence. I want us to watch this video. I don't know if they've all...
That's how we start talking, saying, how do you come? Me can do it. But all this why don't they walk a walk? I do show the all the houses yesterday with the bonner. Bombarding them, scattering them. Where if they will catch people the way they by mistakenly sleep for us, that means the people they die and will still lost soldier. That means you already know all the army the way they become for you. If you don't know all the how they go do know you where your boy no they. How they do know you say now you this way your brother no they or they know say the state na go the house where your boy no they. Yes, now I say how they do know you. Now know you will get a very kind face. I don't know me how they do know me. You don't see they talk fine.
Talk fine.
They know me.
So let us pause the video
Talk
there.
say they no complicated talk. They know you and you know say
So
they become.
if our people have been wondering why we have been very hard on black legs, that means people who help Cameroon occupation forces to kill our people and target innocent individuals. It is a case like this, and this case is very perfect to explain to our people the reason behind why Ambazonian fighters are very hard to take very tough measures to fight our own people who themselves are victims. This young lady was promised 1 million if he shows and identify Ambazonian forces. As you know very well, Cameroonians are foreigners in our land. Their military do not have support even from Ambazonians who work with them. That is why they need people like this to identify Ambazonian fighters, because they don't know who is who in our country. They are a foreign army. So they rely on girls like this and they deceive them. They make promise to them that they cannot fulfill. This girl was given 5,000. And according to the video that she has confessed, and it looks authentic from her body gesture and the way she was fluent, and from us contacting the forces to get information and the community around there, what happens in this video is exactly what everybody is saying. So she came with the Cameroon military, a group of Cameroon military men that identify her house where she was living. She had not had contact with this particular military man, but the military men that lives in that area had contact with her. So they had identified her and provide her like an intelligence contact to a Cameroon military unit that was raiding that area. They came to her house and removed her, and she helped them to identify houses. She points at houses that were burnt by the Cameroon military, and in the course of that operation, an Ambazonian fighter was killed. So for that money, 5,000, and for collaborating and having conversation and relationship with Cameroon military, she has led to the death of a person who fights for Ambazonia and the burning of houses of people who have nothing to do, but those are just areas who know those boys. Houses have been burned. In a case like this, what type of punishment do you think would be suitable for this type of a crime? If the Bible says an eye for an eye, she has caused the death of a soldier. She has caused the loss of personal property. And to prevent such type of happenings, what type of actions should be taken to her to send a message that this type of activities is not tolerable? Because if you allow things to degenerate, people will die, properties will be lost. So that's why we say that no Ambazonian girl or boy should have relationship, love relationship, community relationship with Cameroon occupation terrorist forces. Because eventually it starts with that communication, that relationship, they start to sleep in with each other, make them promises, gain their confidence, and transform them into killing our people and burning our houses. So this is a clear example that shows why we say that no Ambazonian should be talking to Cameroon occupation terrorists. Do not talk to them. Do not have conversation with them. If you do, and the soldiers want to talk to you, they want to check about you, they want to invite you, and then they come and arrest you and take you to their camps. You have to know our community that it is because of the death of soldiers like this and the continual use of our people that they have to take those measures. And we hope that message gets through to our people. So, ladies and gentlemen, we will now go to the 10th commandment of Comrade Boh Herbert. If you know Boh Herbert, he's a powerful voice in Ambazonia. He was once the spokesperson of Skakuf. He was the spokesperson and the leader of Maurice, a movement of Ambazonians that are mainly based in North America. They have raised a lot of money and play a crucial part in helping pushing our Ambazonia. He has attended a lot of press conferences to champion our cause. He is indeed a very strong person that I used to consider as a hero. I believe that Boh Herbert is one of those people who can help shape our country to put in place a democratic institution that will protect human rights and have good governance. But of late, Boh Herbert have been showing a lot of lapses. No one would understand the reason why. he used to run a very powerful program called Ambazonian Calling that we all love to listen. He has even approached me to work with him in some of those projects, and I participated in Ambazonian Calling, which was one of the top Ambazonian podcasts that was available. But as soon as you have negotiation going on in Swiss, he abandoned the resistance. He abandoned everything he was doing and was focused now like a negotiator. Any rational man will know that negotiation is just a byproduct of the resistance. So if you are so much focused only on negotiation and you are not focused on fighting, it makes people to question your whole motive of doing what you are doing. Are you doing it for Ambazonia or you are doing it for yourself? That is my own question to Boh Herbert. But today we have to look into this message which he has put out and published. It is titled, we titled it the 10 Commandments, but he titled it in a WhatsApp that he calls Matter Arising from Something in Canada. There is this rumor that something is going on in Canada, and I can only say it is a rumor because unless the Ambazonian Governing Council, Dr. Chua Yaba, who have been leading international effort for our struggle, and the other leaders that are considered by the international communities as a leading bloc, that is Seseko's IG of Yerima and APLM of Ebenezer Kwanga, unless these organizations comes out and say anything, these are only rumors that are going on, and we'll treat them as such. According to the write-up, Boh Herbert said that a lot of people have contacted him, and one of the callers who this issue told him that big English will not fool us anymore. And this has been the problem, because our people have always looked upon people who speak fluent English as people who have wisdom and people they can rely on for directive, and they have taken, oh boy, they have taken full advantage of them. All you need to be called a doctor, a professor, a lawyer, or whatever you are, and then you dominate people and you start asking people, what do you know? So, but those days have gone. Me, I represent that grassroots. I'm somebody who abandoned my education in after year 2 in the university because of the Cameroon threats that I was receiving as a student activist, and I traveled abroad. But I can assure you that from this our struggle, we have studied and researched far beyond any any lawyers you can find. And one of the guys who listened to my response to Ambe Julius, he's a lawyer and he was a faithful listener of Ambe Julius. He told me, I have one of the most beautiful legal mind he has ever seen in the struggle. And I do take a lot of humility, and that is to encourage all Ambazonians who may not be able to speak English like these people, who may not have this big title, to know that school is not a measure of your intelligence. You can do research on your own, you be on your own, question everybody, and make sure you don't just take things because it is written on a paper, it is published. That is why Cameroon always use fake newspapers to deceive our peoples, because once people just see it's on newspaper or on the television, they take it for face value. So, ladies and gentlemen, Boh Herbert, in this write-up, he made certain statements that I want to read, and we'll put up some of those 10 commandments, which he puts in the form of a question that are very, very important for our people to know the response and the proper response to. In the beginning of that statement, he says that transparency is needed for Ambazonia to make informed decision about what is happening in Canada. So, and I agree with him. If there is something happening in Canada, Ambazonians should know. But our people should also know that most negotiations that happens around the world are all clouded with secrecy and confidentiality until a right time where things are formal, or until a right time where progress have been made. Most engagement or backdoor negotiations always end in failure. And it will be premature and irresponsible if something is happening in Canada and people start trying to use it for political gambling, like the people in Switzerland used to do. In Switzerland, the Ambazonians who were there, they tried to use a diplomatic progress or diplomatic engagement to prop up themselves and show up leadership. We can never be that irresponsible with the responsibility of representing our country. So things will always come out at the right time, and Ambazonia have had the promise of the governing council that we will be transparent with them in anything that is done in their name. So Boh Herbert claimed that somebody called him and tell him that that person was speaking on behalf of the Ambazonian Liberation Movement. So Somebody called Boh Herbert. He didn't say who called him, but probably, I'm not the one, I can assure you that. But the person was talking on behalf of a member of one of the movement, and was telling him that he was speaking on behalf of the liberation movement. And so Boh Herbert mentioned that, which means that it is a question in his mind, or he wants our people to contemplate, how can somebody be competent enough to say that I speak for the Ambazonian liberation struggle, like sometimes I do. I do use that statement a lot. I tell people, I am not just a spokesman of the governing council, but I speak for the Ambazonian liberation movement. And how is that possible? Because nobody elected me to speak for Ambazonia. But our people have to know that you speak for the liberation movement as to the extent of your consequentiality, to the extent of the command and authority you have, and the impact your words have or your opinion have on the whole struggle. That range, that ratio can determine who can really speak for all of us. When I speak, you know that I speak for the Ambazonian Governing Council, which is the biggest properly constituted organization that represents the interests of our country. When I speak as a command officer. When Ayabacho speaks, he speaks as a leader of a movement, a leader of a force. It is not just opinion. There is a difference between opinions and authority. When people like Mark Barata, they speak, Eric Tato, the rest, and all these activists, they speak out, they are giving their opinion. They don't have any command. They don't have any authority. Authority comes from a well-constituted group. The Ambazonian Governing Council, it is a properly constituted group by Ambazonians at home and abroad who have come together to organize themselves into this organization and elect leaders to represent them. Those leaders have the consent of those members to represent the interests of our state. To the extent to which that organization is influential, is consequential to the efforts of our liberation struggle on the ground and in diplomacy, can determine if that organization or person is speaking on behalf of Ambazonia. So that is why I speak for Ambazonian liberation movement when I speak, because it is more consequential, it has authority, and it has power behind it. So unlike before, when anybody can just stand up and give instruction, anybody cannot just give instruction if you do not have authority. I have authority from the Ambazonian Governing Council, and I have influence and consequence in what I say, because there are troops that listens and take order from me as a result of my authority that stems from the ranks and files of the Ambazonian Defense Forces and the Ambazonian Governing Council. So Boh Herbert should know that when I speak for the liberation movement, it does not mean that that person is representing all groups. It simply means that he is consequential and speaks with higher authority than somebody else whose opinion may just be his opinion. My opinions are taken seriously. We can make decisions for life and death, and there are people who are going to carry out those executions. Our people respect us and knows we represent them, and when we give public instructions, it has impact on them. So we can speak on their behalf, we can negotiate on their behalf, because what we say and what we do have consequences to a higher degree than what other people do. So if you measure up all our people, you can know who is more consequential. One way you can know if a leader can lead Ambazonia, and why we call Dr. Chua Yaba the leader, is because if you look in our situation, away from Facebook paid advertisement and views, a simple poll have been done, which is militants. If you are a leader, you must have militants, people who militate for you. Each time a leader publishes something, how many people repost that exact thing can determine to you how consequential they are. Every time you see Ayabacho writes a write-up, everybody reposts it. Those people are militating for him. So he have the highest people who repost him and who militate for him. You can see second is Seseko. And I don't know if there is third or fourth. But Ayabacho is definitely the leader. He's the most consequential. He's the most respected. He's the one with the highest authority. He has a military behind him. So he can represent our country more appropriately. It's not that he can do so exclusively, but he can do so more appropriately. So let's go now to the first commandment that Boh Herbert, let's call it the 10th commandment. And this is it's an educative moment, and our people have to because what Boh Herbert says is very important. He's a very smart guy. So the first thing he said that how can the Ambazonian who attend the Canada discussion believe that those they exchange with represents and speak on behalf of the government of La République du Cameroon? That how can they know that the people they are talking to, if that meeting is actually happening? How can you know the person you are talking to represent Cameroon? It's probably because the people are Cameroon government officials. It's probably because the Canadian government, who is credible, even if you don't believe the testimony of the Cameroon ministers, the so-called, if there is something going on in Canada, you would expect that the Canada government will have official channels of communication with La République du Cameroon to make sure that the government is sending people who represent them, or the people that are coming there have been sent by Cameroon. That is how you know whether the people are Cameroon. And he said, how do you know that they have authority to do so? Yes, Cameroon government can send people, but before you send somebody, you send the person to do something, right? So by the fact that the Cameroon government can send people there, if that is what is going on, anyone will assume that those people are coming as an instruction from La République du Cameroon. And those instructions would have been verified. They would have been talking about the people who were their principal. If their principal is the prime minister or the president, you can assess if they are representing the state of Cameroon. We know that the state of Cameroon have only one man. It's a one-man show, Paul Biya. So for the governing council to engage in anything, if indeed anything is happening, they will make sure that that person is representing Paul Biya, the head of state of Cameroon. That is how you can know. So he says that would even the host country, Canada, approves of individual outside its government to speak and act as Canadians official? This is where you can see that Boh Herbert is hypocritical, because he is trying to suggest, by asking this question, that the people who are representing La République du Cameroon are people of Cameroon's government. So he is trying to make this negative assumption. But that would be wrong. The Ambazonian Governing Council, I can assure you, ladies and gentlemen, if there is anything happening in Canada, will never, ever sit down with people who are not Cameroon government officials. The Cameroon people, a block of the Ambazonian Governing Council, APLM, and the IGK will never accept to sit down to have NGOs, men of God, civil society to represent the state of Cameroon. That will never happen. If there is something happening in Canada, the Cameroon government must represent itself by official, active duty, civil servants that represents the authority and have a mandate from their president. And the Canadian government will assure that will happen. If anything is happening in Canada, that should be what should be happening. So we go to the second thing that Boh Herbert was saying, and I hope this answers a lot of questions to our people. They say number 2, why would Cameroon, which engaged Switzerland, then pretended not to be involved before backing out? So he is saying that Cameroon was pretending that they were not involved. It's the same. Boh Herbert had said that Cameroon is not engaged. So the extent to which Cameroon was engaged in the Swiss talk was very, very on the surface. It was just word of mouth. People said that he said, yeah, Cameroon said, yeah, wanna go ahead. And he says, why would Cameroon, which engaged in Switzerland, then pretended not to involve, backing out, be trusted to participation in this Canada? So he is saying that Cameroon cannot make an announcement that there is something going on in Canada. That is what Boh Herbert is saying. And if there was nothing going on in Canada, Cameroon cannot say that. But definitely, if something is going on in Canada that is trustworthy, that is real, Cameroon should be able to announce it. But right now, we are assuming that it is all rumor, nothing has been said. So Boh Herbert, your presumption still needs time to be affirmed. So, and what he also said there, he says that, is it not the same regime that denied holding nocturnal meeting with Seseko Ayok Tabi and co in the residence of the Archbishop of Yaoundé once news broke that they were meeting? So he's saying that Cameroon government have rejected that nothing happened when they met with Seseko Ayok Tabi. I want our people to know that of Seseko Ayok Tabi was an extension of the Swiss talks. It was triggered by a meeting that took place in Accra, in Ghana, where officials of the APLM made a request and opened the possibility that Siseko Ayoktabi should be reached directly by the Cameroon side to see if he could join that talks. Maybe Boh Herbert is not aware because that process was all clouded with secrecy, with Sako talking behind their back, Ebenezer Kwanga doing his own deal here and there. All of them were everywhere. And they met Siseko. Cameroon came out to say that it was not a talk. That in itself should show Boh Herbert that the Swiss talk was a scam. And that is usual. That is expected. That is why the governing council was not a part of it. Naturally, when a conflict of this nature is going on, you expect the international community and the Cameroon government to first try to approach the periphery groups and avoid the major groups. That's why the AGOFC and the IG Care were not the primary engaged party in the Swiss talk. It is natural. That is how things happen. Before you want to start the negotiation, don't expect Cameroon to go and meet the hardliners as defined by the World Bank report and many other people like the AGOFC or the leaders. They will first come to weak people first and see if they can make progress. They started with their national dialogue and then they moved the scale. They meet people like Boh Herbert who are very good in activism, but they are only in papers. Maurice as an organization is really have been almost redundant. It is a one-man show. When did the last time Maurice have a convention? When is the last time Boh Herbert did a public campaign for Ambazonia? When is the last time he raised funds for Ambazonia forces? So the Cameroon government, naturally, and the Switzerland government, they did the right thing to first contact the small groups that have that do not really have influence to see whether they can use them or if they can use them to even moderate the hardliners. These are just normal things. There's nothing abnormal about the Swiss talk. We expected it. We give our objection. We give the reason why we objected to it. We know that it was just Cameroon trying with the Switzerland to see what they can get as a result of engagement with the Swiss company who were interested in having some contracts in Cameroon, who thought that they could help Biya bring some closure to this thing. But they have tested it and they saw that the AGOFC stood our ground and we held our principle and we will not engage in something that is just there to test people. It wasn't something serious. That is why we did not take part of it. So will Cameroon come out to accept that something was going on in Canada? Like Boh Herbert said, if it is indeed something is going on there, then Cameroon will say it. The Ambazonian Governing Council had engaged in the Swiss talk. We have in it, but not taking part on it to raise our objection and to put the standards that are required for us to really have a meaningful negotiation that can yield fruit for Ambazonia. And that is why we didn't take part of it. So we'll go to the third commandment of Boh Herbert, what Boh Herbert said. In his third commandment, Comrade Boh Herbert says that if Ambazonia have truly obtained from La Republique what they have reported, should we stop believing the rule of thumb by security agents that if something is offered sounds too good to be true, it is definitely not true? So Boh Herbert, in this statement, you can see that he acknowledges that the rumor around the Canada discussion that is going on have said that Ambazonia have had what is really good. Because for you to say it is too good to be true, it means that you are acknowledging that what they are talking about or rumored about Canada is really good for Ambazonia. That is the first thing this statement says. Then he says that if the statement that they say if something is too good to be true, it is not true. If we make that assumption, that means that this thing is not good simply because it is not true because it is too good. And then he said that if Canada is not a scam, what is it? How will you say that Canada is a scam simply because what is coming out of Canada is too good for Ambazonia? So even though you are a leader and you have been believing in Ambazonian freedom, what does that tell us about your own conviction if you think that what we want is too good for us? It means that you are undermining our people. You look us like we don't deserve so much. We have been so enslaved, and you still look us as those slaves, as those people who do not deserve that independence. Your attitude is not much different from the Queen of England and the British government, who looked at us and said that we don't deserve to be independent because we are a small country. Your mind, how different is it from people like Thibaut Nagy, who previously said that we are a mini state, only to then realize that we are bigger than Switzerland and Monaco, and we deserve to be an independent country and are today campaigning for Ambazonia. So this statement of Boh Herbert is suggesting that Ambazonian independence is too good to be true. Shows that he is a weak person, his convictions are not very strong, and he is completely wrong in his assessment to think that independence is not too good, or what is coming out from Canada, so-called Canada, these rumors are true. In his fourth, the fourth commandment of Boh Herbert, he said, what else can a temporary truce, cessation of hostility, lifting of ghost town and lockdowns achieve except a return to normalcy? What else would Cameroon be negotiating for? So there are two things. Boh Herbert is suggesting that what is happening, or the rumor about Canada, includes temporary truce, cessation of hostilities. Then, as he always says, the devil is in the detail. He talks about lifting of ghost town and lockdown. I want to make it clear that the Ambazonian government will never uplift ghost town. And if Boh Herbert is honest and is reading the signs, he will see how vigorously we have fought to uphold the ghost town when Cameroon have used fake news and fake papers to attack ghost town. The same Boh Herbert, who is criticizing and wants to bring the issue of ghost town as being some compromises in the so-called supposed talks in Canada, should be reminded that the HD that worked for the Swiss process, in trying to test the members who were in that Swiss process, asked them to declare lockdown to show their power. And they were declaring lockdowns unnecessarily, that caused a lot of pain to our people and a backlash that affected our struggle negatively. Boh Herbert should remember and be reminded that the same Swiss process, even when they did not even have a commitment to La République, even when they did not even meet La République du Cameroon face to face, they offered to uplift the ghost town. With Ebenezer Akwanga and many of them came out to declare cessation of lockdown. It was rejected by people like us in the governing council that played the vanguard role to protect the integrity of our liberation struggle. How come there Boh Herbert would today be trying to accuse us of something that he himself have taken part in? But rest assured, my people, we will never compromise on our people's ability to express their rights that are defended and protected under international law. Ghost Town is a sit-home voluntary exercise of expression of public will. It's a form of public protest by our civilians. This activity of Ghost Town is protected under international law, and there is no way we can go against the human right of our people to please anybody or to accommodate anybody like those who took part in Swiss tried to do and failed woefully. They did not only end in Ghost Town in that Swiss thing that happened, the Swiss cheese, but they even went ahead to declare a unilateral ceasefire. A unilateral ceasefire. So today, the so-called rumor of a cessation of hostility, which if the AGOFC is involving, will likely be a gesture by Cameroon saying that they are going to ceasefire or Cameroon stop hostility, and the AGOFC will likely, if that thing is existing, reciprocate by saying, let us halt hostility and create an enabling environment for real negotiation to go on that meets international standard. So there is no way people like this, who even declare ceasefire and only realize that we will not accept it and it will not work because they did not even have the power or the fire to even seize it in the first place. Today, they are trying to undermine a legit, something that looks good for Ambazonia. They want to undermine it for their own individual benefit and their own political agenda, if that is the case. So, the suggestion that La République to negotiate for normalcy, he also suggested by his words saying that the temporary truce, what else would La République be negotiating for? It means that he's suggesting that the negotiation, if there is anything like that happening in Canada, La République wants to use it to bring normalcy. That can be true. We are not stupid. If there is something like that happen, Ambazonia will never accept La République to use them, the governing council, to bring normalcy. In a scenario where we are asked to lay down our arms, or in a scenario where we are asked to abandon areas that are liberated areas under La République control or administration from La République Cameroon, it is a no-go area. But even if it's a situation as rumoured, where Ambazonian forces are allowed to control their areas where they have their bases, that can never be a normalcy. That can never be defined as a normalcy. If La Republic is withdrawing to their barracks and allowing liberated areas to function in the interim under Ambazonian control, that cannot be seen as normalcy. That will be seen as a strengthening of our bases and giving us parity where we never had. That will relieve our population that have been suffering from Cameroon harassment and give us an opportunity to strengthen ourselves, train ourselves, build our institutions in furtherance of our recognition as a state. So let's go to the fifth commandment of Boh Herbert, as he said, as he put it. In the fifth commandment of Boh Herbert, it says that if Cameroon was really itchy to conclude something with Ambazonia, as the discussions in Canada seems to suggest. So now again, he's talking about suggestion that Cameroon was itchy. Cameroon wants to do something very, very fast. I don't know where he gets that. But if that is the case, wouldn't you be happy that your enemy wants to give you your freedom very fast and leave, if that is the case? But he says, why did Yaoundé not just announce it as part of the Swiss-led process? Why is so obsessed about the Swiss? Why should it just be the Swiss? Why should it just be the Swiss when the Swiss was tainted with peripheral groups who are not consequential enough? Why will it be in the Swiss? Can the people in the Swiss uphold anything? Were they able to enforce the lockdowns and the unnecessary ghost towns that they were trying to do? They were not even able to cease fire. So why would anybody take them seriously? Might it be because the Switzerland offered no chance for Yaoundé to cheat, but Canada gives La République everything they have never dreamt of? So how does this even make sense? You say that Canada is giving La République all what they have never dreamt of. At the same time, you are saying that what has been in Canada is too good. So it shows that this contradiction is a proof that you are somebody who is speaking out of malice. You are somebody who is deliberately just trying to undermine an effort, not because it is not good for Ambazonia, but simply because you're probably not in charge, or probably because it does not benefit your own group. But remember, we have to put Ambazonia. This is about Ambazonia, not about groups. So you have to put Ambazonia's interest first if you are a patriot. And anything that uplift Ambazonian interest, you have to, as a patriotic duty will demands. So the fact that he thinks that in Switzerland offered something that Cameroon could not easily cheat, but Canada is offering something that Cameroon can cheat, is not the reality, because Cameroon cheated in Switzerland. So you can't say that Cameroon cannot cheat in Switzerland. Cameroon probably just wake up one day and say that I'm out of it. And guess what? There is zero consequences for Cameroon doing that. Zero. So how could you be comparing something that does not yet exist, or something you don't know about, with something that is clearly, evidently bad, like the Switzerland negotiation where Cameroon just pulled out? There was not even a condemnation from the Switzerland government, from the Americans or the international community. That shows you how bad the Switzerland deal is. For what other reason will you be so focused and so attached to this Swiss process? Are you a professional negotiator? Are you here to negotiate or to liberate Ambazonia? So Boh Herbert completely just gets it all. Remember that before even Cameroon committed, when Cameroon was not even committed, the Boh Herbert and the people who call themselves Team Act were already giving up a lot of things. Remember that Cameroon government at a high level was not even involved. That is why somebody like Ngongo could reject the Swiss deal. Remember that if Cameroon president was actually involved, or it was something that was really legitimate, Ngongo would not have a meeting by Siseko dismissed just with his words. Eko and Colonel Bankwe, low-level officers, wouldn't have been involved. Meeting members of the ACT abroad, as Ebenezer Akwanga have publicly testified, revealed that he met as part of the Swiss thing with Colonel Bankwe or Eko, one of them, in Washington, D.C. in a shopping mall. So if you have that low level in La République with the Swiss deal, why would you even compare it with the rumors in Canada that would likely involve Cameroon at its highest level? It is because Cameroon was not serious. The Swiss deal was just testing the ground. That's why they choose weak people who are just on papers. You people were there. How many organizations? Your own claim was there that is that you guys were many. They just think Kende. Now what for beings be there for instance Switzerland. So that should be clear. So let's go to the number 6 commandment. These commandments are written as questions that are very important for us to tackle. Number 6 commandment, he says that if Cameroon declare a lack of interest for the moment in continuing with the Swiss-led process. So this guy is still dreaming about this thing that it was just for the moment. That means that Cameroon can still come there. Boh Herbert, now what for you? Now what for you? I go die with Swiss cheese for a mob. Boh Herbert, reality check. The Swiss thing is over. Cameroon have said so. The Americans have said so. We had a meeting with the State Department and the Americans lawmakers. They said so. They have acknowledged it. Thibault Nagy, somebody who still have security clearance in the White House, have said so. Stop dreaming. Wake up, my brother. Tumfoin. Wake up. Swiss D is over. It's not for the mob done. So he then goes and said, presumably, because Switzerland would not do the will of the gods of A2D, why is it reasonable to think something happening in Canada will benefit Ambazonia? So your own presumptions, now you are now taking it as facts by making a presumption and coming to a conclusion and ask a question based on that your presumption. That is not intellectual. That is not reasonable in itself. Your questions and presumptions, your answer coming from your presumptions are not reasonable and shows lack of intellectual maturity. You cannot be making your presumptions and treating it as a reality. Your presumptions that means you are assuming that Switzerland will not do what they to the wanted. So what it means that you are actually saying that it would wanted Switzerland to do something that they could not do, whatever that was. So why would somebody think that Canada will benefit Switzerland? That is just ridiculous. It's not even logical. I think this is so low for your level. Each time a person is dishonest, each time a person seeks to do something that is wrong, it comes out in this way because he will not look smart. Because when you do something wrong, it's not smart. It's not a smart thing to do the wrong thing. So Boh Herbert is just wrong. To presume that Canada is trying to do what La République has asked them to do will be wrong. If there is anything going on in Canada, that thing would have stemmed not from Cameroon, but from the United Nations General Assembly that passed the last session. You can go to their website. You will see the exchange between Antonio Guterres and Belan Bela, the Ministry of Cameroon, that he delivered a message to him that have triggered whatever is rumored to be taking place in Canada. So we go to the 7th commandment of Boh Herbert, which is in the form of a question. He says that by trying to do deals in pre-talks, did Ambazonia representative in Canada inadvertently throw away the trump card offered by international community, which ordered Cameroon to come to international mediated negotiations without precondition? So this is actually revealing that Boh Herbert knows that Cameroon government have been ordered by the international community to go and negotiate without precondition. So he knows that. He attests to this fact. And that was communicated to the Cameroon government in the last session of the General Assembly of the United Nations. So it is a fact that whatever is drawing Cameroon or whatever the rumors are going about Canada will be as a result of the international community ordering Cameroon that you have to negotiate without precondition now. So why will he think that Ambazonians representative in the so-called Canada talks are making concession in pre-talks? Why would he think so? When they themselves, in engaging Cameroon from a distance, without any face-to-face communication, were making concessions. They were allowing themselves to be called as pressure groups within Cameroon, political groups within Cameroon. The documents are out there for all to see. So they were making concessions. Maybe they don't know that those are concessions. Once you reduce yourself from a nationalist movement representing a territory to a pressure group or political party, you are then being seen in the prism or the assumption of the international community as one Cameroon, Ambazonian Governing Council will never, if there is anything going on in Canada, allow themselves to make concessions in pre-talks. Pre-talks are to frame negotiation framework for negotiations according to our studies and according to the capacity building that I myself have been involved in. Pre-talks are never meant to make concession. Only a fool or an incompetent delegate will be making concessions in pre-talks. Pre-talks is where you establish your stance, both sides. So it should be you have flexibility to actually put out what you want in a negotiation. It's a process where both sides will put out what they want in negotiations. And then you get the negotiator to look at it, the facilitator or the mediator to look at it and say, okay, I know what Ambazonia wants, I know what Cameroon wants. Now let us bring both sides to now establish what are the facts, what are the truth. Then how can we advance the Ambazonians' aspiration? How can we see how Cameroon, who is the aggressor and occupation forces, will cease? Where you establish that Cameroon is actually an occupying power is where you establish all these facts for a liberation of Ambazonia. So that is what pre-talks should be. It's not something that you go to make concessions with, like they did. So if you had made concession, why would you be accusing somebody of doing that? So we go now to the eighth commandment of Boh Herbert, which is in the form of a question where he said that it is better to release political prisoners to join the negotiation team abroad, as was envisaged under the Swiss-led process, or is it better to have them released into the countrywide prison that holds Aboh captive to this day despite his release? So he is making a conclusion, comparison, a bet at hand with two in the bush. That is what I would say. It is good to have released prisoners and let them join a negotiation rather than release them back in La Republic to remain there, or the type of release that Aboh was released. There are two things. Whatever release that Aboh was released was a release that was conditioned by a document that he signed that he will not support Ambazonian liberation movement. So that can never happen. The AGOC can never participate in anything that will allow somebody to be released on condition that the person denounced Ambazonian nationalism. Aboh release was a treasonous act, and he became a party to La République du Cameroun and a supporter of One Cameroon, and works as an agent of Cameroon. He was offered a job to be a university lecturer. He was being used abroad to champion Cameroon activity to undermine our case in Canada, in the United States, in Britain, and he failed. So nobody in Ambazonian Governing Council or any bloc that might be involved in the rumors can allow such type of a deal to happen to our political prisoners who are currently being held. That said, the second thing that he said, it was about releasing the prisoners to become part of the negotiation or releasing them back into the jail. Remember that the so-called release he's talking about, which one is better? Of course, releasing them to join negotiation will be better. But he said that was just an envision. It doesn't mean that that was reality. It was never a choice. It was never a choice. Cameroon was never engaged. So we cannot be comparing something that we have at hand. I would rather have our prisoners released for humanitarian purposes right now. Release all of them. Let them have their freedom and have some relief, than me imagining that I will have to choose. But if I have to choose, I'll choose them to be released and put in freedom out of the Cameroons, where they could help to mobilize our people to fight for our freedom. But that conclusion, that question in itself, is a fallacy. You are making assumption comparing two things. One which is based on something that did not exist and that was not credible. Our prayer and our priority will always put our prisoners as a primary objective to get them released. We will never want them to be in prison, or like Aboh, we will always do everything. We are loyal to the soldiers, our soldiers, and that should be seen in our attitude with the soldiers compared to the prisoners. Boh Herbert have not counted our death. Boh Herbert have not honored the people who died fighting for our freedom. Why should we think that he would even honor the prisoners? So that should be said about that 8. We'll go to the 9. The 9th commandment, which is a form of a question, talks about Boh Herbert says it is it is hard to know why Ambazonians in Canada have outsourced communication to the points that fake flyers speak on their behalves. He's basically saying that because those who, if they are having such talks in Canada, have not put out any official statement, La République are now putting fake flyers that misleads our people. They should never be rushed. It will be irresponsible if something like that is happening for the groups who are engaging to suddenly take it to become a social media experiment and reduce something like that to a social media competition just to satisfy people's curiosity. Of course, we will never have things that are not transparent, but there is a time for everything. Pre-talks are very normal. Underground conversation always happen in every country or every conflict, but it's done so responsibly, not done for group affiliation or used to promote group partisanship, but used to advance the national cause. That's why you don't have them heralding. If something was like that, I would think that people would admire it, that these people have been very responsible, keeping things out of social media until it is mature and ready for public consumption. Rather than you people going around defending Swiss thing when Cameroon itself is quiet on it and is undermining it, you keep on defending it. I think you should learn from that experience, not trying to drag us back to something that was very poorly managed. He said, will Ambazonia recover? Now, this is very important. Will Ambazonia recover if La République claimed that Canada is a follow-up or volume 2 of the one and indivisible Cameroon Grand National Dialogue? Yes, I think I agree with Boh Herbert in this point. What, if anything, if there is something in the first place happening in Canada when Ambazonians are there in good faith and Paul Biya out of a sudden, this is a possibility, comes out because we know he is a liar, we know he's somebody who cannot be trusted, somebody who have low credibility, somebody who have used fake international people to come and misrepresent election observers, somebody that rigs election, somebody who have run the most corrupt institution in the world. He's the oldest president and may not even have his faculty. People can play with him. So you are dealing with people who have very low propensity to do the right thing or to be honest. These are liars. These are shameless individuals. So this point that Boh Herbert made is a very serious thing. If Cameroon comes out and indeed there was something going on in Canada and Paul Biya comes and claims that that is part of his Grand National Dialogue, I accept with Boh Herbert that this is a possibility and it's something that is worrying. But I want to reassure people like Boh Herbert that if there is that possibility, he should understand and trust the leadership like Dr. Chuayaba and the rest, Yerima and Ebenezer Kwanga and John Bakuru, to have had this factored in their thinking. They will also think of that possibility. And the truth of the matter is that that can happen. But if Paul Biya comes and says that this is part of his national dialogue, will that mean that it is true? No. Because national dialogue means something that is internal within Cameroon. But if Cameroon is so-called engaging in something in Canada, like it is rumoured, then it cannot be a national dialogue. It will now be international dialogue because it will involve the Canada as supposedly rumoured. It will involve the Norwegians and the Irish, which are the people that the Ambazonian Governing Council have brought into the fold. It will be on a foreign soil. It is also possible that this can happen because remember that according to Cameroon constitution, according to this country, even though it's a clown, it's a comedy country, but they have their own laws. And according to their laws, the presidential degree signed by Paul Biya, it is the only official mandate to resolve this conflict, this war we have with La République. So it is only within that power that Paul Biya has committed his country to look into this matter. They rejected it in their debates in the parliament. They rejected to debate it when the SDF brought it up. They rejected all attempt to engage their government in any meaningful way. But Paul Biya has signed a degree that authorizes the so-called Grand National Dialogue to be managed by the Prime Minister of Cameroon to engage in resolving the Ambazonian Liberation War. So it is true that Cameroon can say that for them, this is Grand National Dialogue Part 2. For Ambazonia, what we should know is that it is not true. It is just how they perceive it. And the other side is allowed to be wrong. What matters is that this is not the Grand National Dialogue Part 2, even though the enemy thinks to call it that way. In negotiation, the two parties will have different views. That is why you are negotiating in the first place. Cameroon can say that it is an internal matter. Ambazonia can say it is an international matter. But the reality is that any reasonable person will come to the conclusion that Cameroon is wrong. No matter what names they use it, it is an international matter and it is being solved out of Cameroon in a third country with international observers and the United Nations being part of it. So even though that risk work, the only thing we can do about it is to educate our people, because there is no way we can control the activities of Paul Biya or how he perceives things. But if we engage in a meaningful thing that can solve this problem and give us our independence and give justice to Ambazonia, then Ambazonians will be foolish to reject it simply because Paul Biya called it Grand National Dialogue Part 2. But of course, we will not accept to call it that way. We will reject him calling it that way. But there is nothing we can do. What matters is not just what they call it. What matters is the content. And that is that is the approach we should take. So in this part 9, Boh Herbert is right. Paul Biya can call it a Grand National Dialogue. But if Paul Biya call it Grand National Dialogue, it is going to help him to manage their own internal infighting and cool down the temper of the hawks in their country. It is going to inflame on our side enablers who do not put Ambazonia at heart but seize opportunity to sabotage things that they are not in control of. And it will be irresponsible for us to capitalize on those type of things if indeed it happens. But one thing we are sure, this is not the Grand National Dialogue. If there is anything that is happening, this is an internationally mediated process that will resolve the root causes of Ambazonian failed decolonization process that was supposed to be handled by the British government. It will be an effort that will finally choose negotiation instead of war as a way of addressing this war, this Ambazonian crisis. And let's go now to the last commandment of Boh Herbert, which is 10 Commandment number 10. Boh Herbert says, no matter how you cut, slice, and dice what is supposedly happening in Canada, it promises does not resemble Cameroon. So Boh Herbert is still coming out to show you that what is actually rumoured is actually good for Ambazonia. But he says that it's just too good that it does not resemble Cameroon. Cameroon cannot give us independence, according to him. So, but how can you be fighting Cameroon in the first place and you say you are fighting for independence and you believe that Cameroon cannot succumb? So it shows that you have not done your homework. For us, the Governing Council, we believe Cameroon can give us independence. We believe the international community can give us independence. That's why we are fighting and committing our life to it. We believe we can defeat Cameroon. We can bring Cameroon to its knees. We can ruin the security of the Gulf of Guinea using our Biafran friends and our connections for our joint survivor to make sure that Cameroon succumb and Nigeria succumb to our own interests and our own justice. That is why we are in this process. If we did not believe that, we will not be asking boys to carry up arms. So that should be a reality check to Boh Herbert to think about his own calculation coming into this thing. Or is he now blinded by his own ego and his own personal ambition in this whole thing? So he says that we have not, since 1961, met the good boy Cameroon Ambazonia is reportedly met in Canada. Who thinks we may be getting played? So Boh Herbert is asking, who thinks that we are getting played in Canada? Of course, I don't think that we are getting played, if indeed there is anything going on in Canada. And this will be historic. If what is rumored in Canada is actually true, this will be the first time in our history since 1961 when the state of Cameroon, in its official capacity as a state and a territory, would have met people that are representing Ambazonia as a state and a territory. It will be the first time that has happened, because after Fumban Conference, Cameroon do no longer consider Ambazonia as an independent. They treated them as a captured people, as an annexed people. And this will be the first and historic moment. It will be the biggest history in our lifetime, if what is rumored is true, that Ambazonia have actually sat on the table with La République du Cameroon as two separate countries, two separate entities in the international arena to face each other. That will be historic indeed. And Boh Herbert's last thing is a question. Who thinks we may be getting played? I think we are not getting played if that is true. Canada government is the most reliable international partner that can handle a matter like Ambazonia. Amongst all the countries in the war, one would have preferred America, but America alliance with France and rely on France in the Iraq war, in the Gulf of Guinea, in many hot spots in the war. America rely on France muscle and connection, intelligence work so much that it is more difficult for America to be better than Canada. Canada, for the other part, is the only country in the world that have changed their foreign ministry into what they call global affairs. Canada have a projection and perception of the war that is more focused not just on economic interests, but on human rights. For a country to change their Ministry of Foreign Affairs and call it global affairs shows you that Justin Trudeau is indeed a man of a universal war, and indeed will see that the United Nations Charter, the rule-based system that have kept the war together from going into the Third World War, those principles and those laws should also apply to small territories like Ambazonia. The United Nations Charter have been the sole purpose that have allowed small countries around the world to survive. And those same principles should protect Ambazonia like they are protecting the Ukrainians. We believe that Canada, with its experience with the Quebec, would understand the sensitivity of a people like Ambazonia, who were an international entity far better than any other country. Canada has been very hospitable, and in the history of Canada, Canada is going through a process where they are reconciling their past colonialism and the maltreatment of indigenous people of Canada. And Justin Trudeau, it will be, if something is happening in Canada, directly invested, and will likely make sure that his office will be running such an important historic events in the life of the people of Ambazonia and in the life of the people in Cameroon in general. It is a very serious matter. This has been the most neglected conflict in the war, and Canada have always been a country that looks for underdogs. Canada have always been a country that welcomes everybody. In my 8th trip to Canada, I want to share this experience that on the first day I arrived in Canada, in their international airport in Ottawa, the people that I first met, my first encounter was with the Pakistan people speaking in Pakistan language. They helped me to come into the airport. I went through the immigration, and all the people I met was Nepali, different country people, different cultures, being themselves. And by the time I picked up my luggage, I was asking, where are the Canadians? Because the Canadians were the minority people who have been integrated in their society. Unlike in America and other countries who have a lot of problems and they use integration, racial integration as a cliche, in Canada, it is a reality. Canada is the most diverse country that empowers indigenous people and migrants who have integrated in Canada. So I believe that the Canadians are in a good positions. We approach everything with caution because we are dealing with the life of our nation and our people, and we will also do so. So if what is being rumored in Canada is true, if it is too good, then Ambazonia deserves that which is the best. Nobody should think that something is too good for us, or independent is so good that has become so far from our dream that we cannot accept it. Ladies and gentlemen, before we round up this show, I wanted to do a recap of the year 2022. We have tried to have a program on that, but because of our international engagement, it has been impossible for our technical team and our communicators to put a package for you. But I want to just look into this year and say that this has been a better year since the beginning of this war. You remember we lost General Boh Herbert during December period. This year, Cameroon have tried his best to try to get our best general, killer, General Bush Rambo, and they failed. They have tried to get General Capo, they have failed. They have deployed forces to get General Efang, our supreme commander. They have failed. They have tried to deploy forces to get our supreme commander in Meme, who is now extending to mentor the camps in Ndian, General Felix, who have been promoted, and they have failed. So I want to take this opportunity to congratulate General Felix. If you know him, his nickname has always been Rambo, but we are putting him now in the front line because he has to be the face of our fighters in Meme and in Xian. General Felix have been appointed by the War Council and approved by the President of the Governing Council to be now the general and the overall commander of all Ambazonian defense forces in the great state of Meme and in the great state of Indian. He was part of those forces that made the journey to our mother base to train for the Sunrise operation that was sabotaged by internal rivals. I want to congratulate him. We have worked very closely on many projects. He's a fierce warrior, and the people of Ndian should be very happy that you have an Akamaso First Batch general who is disciplined and trained to protect civilian human rights and to defend our country fiercely against the enemy. I also want to congratulate General Capo, who have been promoted to the 4th in ranks of the ADF. He is now Lieutenant General Capo. I want to congratulate him. I also want to take this opportunity to recap and to pay tribute to the soldiers that we have lost, irreplaceable soldiers in this year, to say that we want to thank and remember General A4 of the 7th Qatar who died in the hands of the enemy. We want to thank and remember Cross and Die of the Bamenda Brigade, who also lost his life. His unit, part of his unit was being run by me. The anti-kidnapping squad was coming from Tanka, and I want to thank him for his death. I also want to remember Colonel Bruta. He's somebody that is very close to my heart. I remember when he joined the ADF from, how did they call that place? Bechati. I was involved in that, in his recruitment. Personally, he was a fierce commander, and he also died in operations in Ambazonia. We also want to take these moments of our great loss also has been, for Ambazonia as a whole, have been Field Marshal Oliver Lequier. Oliver Lequier, the brother of Chris Ano, who also was killed by Ambazonia. Irrespective of our political opinion, we must still honor him because he has played a role in the life of our people, whether positively. So I want to share some of the pictures. My first time I met Oliver Lequier, when the Dragons was coming into Lebialem, I was a person they contacted. I was an Ambazonian independent activist. They contacted me. I was working with the Tigers of Ambazonia. I had a video call with them when they were making their march into the markets of Lebialem. I want to put on the screenshot of that, my video call with Oliver Lequier when he was coming into Lebialem with the whole crew that forms the base of the Red Dragons of Ambazonia. Let our technical staff put the picture up there. It's a picture of the video screen call. I had saved the video. It's still there for the record, so that people should know some of our journey. So you can see this is me and Oliver Lequier when he was coming into Lebialem. We had a video call. That was my first time to ever know him. It was my first time to talk to him. And when they told me he was a brother of Chris Ano, his younger brother, I sent a message to Chris Ano to confirm if he's have any brother called Oliver Lequier. Chris Ano, as you know, maybe because of lack of trust, he refused at that moment that he's not his brother. But they came into Lebialem, and we cry his loss because he also inspired a lot of our people. But they use Chris Ano, they use Oliver Lequier not positively once he stepped in. They use him for propaganda. They even use him to destroy all the structures that we had put in Lebialem. They did not come to cooperate with us, the ADF that was in Lebialem and was building the forces. And I want to remember some of the victims of Oliver Lequier, so that we people should remember what he also did. Not only the good, but also the bad, because for many people, they remember those bad parts. Let us play a video for you people to see.
Tango said the one them they don't baptize them. Now whether they success with the run. We don't know two don't know two run one for them. We don't know two run one for Oliver. We don't know. Even if they want a power, see, they shoot them. They knock them. And they still for you. Because they come out there every day. So we want up now. The stress we don't pass.
Okay, so we can pass it there because we just collection to remember the year 2022. These soldiers were part of the Ambazonian fighters who were captured by Oliver Lequier. He murdered them using a pistol and threw their dead body into a river in Lebialem. He was putting them on a river, shooting them with a bullet, executing them. Oliver Lequier, with working with Chris Anu and Sako, also killed local chiefs in Lebialem, and they committed a lot of bad things in Lebialem, which we must also remember. We cannot forget those bad memories. And Chris Anu have not repented. He still have that negative thing. And they lied that they burned the house, the ADF burned the house of Chris Anu. You hear this soldier, they were explaining there, they were lying about making all those false accusations with them. Since the birth of Field Marshal and the Red Dragons, he became a big problem to Ambazonia, despite the fact that he inspired all of us. And with his show, it was an inspiration, but we will never forget the negative part of it. And it should be a lesson for any Ambazonia. When you start to come looking for biggest names, all those things, it does not end well. And we hope that we have learned our lesson. And Chris Anu today is more of a spoiler. We hope he also learns the lesson. But somebody, if you look at him, the way he treated the death of his wife, you doubt if somebody who have blood in his, he have blood running through his stream. And I met the man after this incident for the second time. I met him first in Zaria, and I met him in Cambodia. And at one point he provoked me, and I almost beat him up. He was lucky that I was held down. All Ambazonians, when Chris Anu came to Cambodia, everybody ran away. It was like the devil have come. Everybody ran away. That shows you how hurtful we are for what he has done. When Chris Anu come to the rally in Washington, it was good that he came there and people saw him. He should repent and change. He was trying to stigmatize people and setting up people thinking that when people go to Ground Zero, they'll kill them for what he has done so that he will be on top. Look at what happened to his brother. His brother was killed by his own forces, helped by La Republique. So what you wish for other people, you have to be very careful. For the people in the IG who wish that Ayabacho was a scum man, you've seen that Sako have been given to you with a fake certificate. So, but we are one people. We are going into the new year. It's a time for reconciliation. I hope that the video with me dancing there with Chris Anu should be put on the screen. It's a time for reconciliation. It's a new dawn to Ambazonia. We are one people fighting for one objective. We should be able to overcome our personal ego and partisanship and embrace each other and work towards a common goal. Our brave hearts who have fallen before us gave their life up for our country. We should be able to give our ego, our partisanship, and put Ambazonian first and put our flag first. For all of our soldiers in Ground Zero, who have been fighting so hard to order, command and control, to be able to stem out any excesses from our territory, they should have compassion. They should use power with our code of conduct. Use proportionality when dealing with our people. They should stop and stem out any excesses that comes from kidnapping from ransom. They should stop listening to people who give them chicken change and influence them away from our command structure that is supposed to bring them discipline. They should be patriot. They should hold their ground and make sure they goes down in history like everybody will go down at one time as a hero that we will remember with no pain in our heart. We will always remember you, we will always stand by you, and to walk hand in hand with you. And to our people in Ground Zero, this is about you. For us in the Governing Council and our leader, Dr. Chuayaba, it is about you. It is us empowering you, us elevating you. It is your opinion, your will that ultimately counts. And I just want you to know that, lest we forget. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We have come to the end of this show. Happy New Year, and 2023 is pregnant. God bless you all. Good morning, fellow televiewers on the ACN television network. Welcome to another episode of the No Pony Talk Show. In the making, history made already. This is a show where we talk the people's language for Biafra and the people's language for Ambazonia, the Pidgin English. And I'm me, Capo Daniel, una host. So I'll play this music and welcome everybody. And we'll go straight into this topic today, which is very, very important and very, very critical.
Stay tuned on ACN TV. We will be right back.